So I want to thank Dave and Dustin for having me here to speak briefly with you about this concept of time management. I'm kind of a time management junkie, and so I was talking to Dustin, and he was like, well, what do you want to talk about? I said, well, I really like time management. You want me to talk about that? He said, yeah, that'd be a good thing to talk about. So I prepared for you a lovely Clint Eastwood rap, but since Nick already did a rap, I'm not going to try to do it. So Nick, thanks for taking me off the hook for doing a Clint Eastwood rap. And I'll share more about Clint Eastwood and why I think he's important. Anybody else a big Clint Eastwood fan in the room? Okay, I see a few of you. All right, good deal. All right, so what we're going to do is, obviously you guys are here to learn about how to amplify what you're doing. And, you couldn't pick two better people to learn from. I think so highly of these guys, what they're doing. They've helped me. So I've run what's known as kind of the Glazer Kennedy or GKIC group for San Diego for the last 7 years. It's one of the biggest and most successful groups, just small business owners learning how to market. Not a lot of speakers, but we do get a few. But if you want to learn this concept, this idea of speaking, you're in the right place. So I commend you for being here. So what I want to talk about is how to gain an extra hour a day guaranteed. Does that sound good to anybody? Okay, all right. I see some people are very enthusiastic. Some people that get delegated from Dave and Dustin are like, yes, please. So that's what I really try to focus on, and like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and I really love this subject, so I'm really happy to share it with you. So, how many people have seen this quote from Benjamin Franklin before? If you love life, don't squander it, because time is the stuff that life is made out of. So hopefully that's what you're doing. So pay attention as if your life depended on this, and I say this only because you're going to get all these great ideas, but if you don't actually implement them, then it's not going to be worth the notes that you're taking. And it's really, really important that you just implement this stuff and get it done. So with that, I want you to pull one thing out of what I'm going to talk about. And it's going to be different for everybody, just one technique. I'm going to share a whole bunch. I get very tactical, so I'm going to actually share with you things that I've seen work with business people that I've worked with and with me over the years. I'm just going to share the things that actually work. Some of you are going to have heard some of these things before, but there's a big difference between hearing it and understanding it and actually doing it. So I hope you actually just pick one thing and actually do it. So we're looking for progress, not perfection, is the idea. So this was my kind of love of cowboys. This was my last day in the corporate rat race. So it was Halloween of 2008. I was a VP of sales of a software company, by all intents and purposes, very successful, but I just had this yearning to be an entrepreneur and get out and do my own thing. And right when the recession was hitting, I decided, let's be an entrepreneur. That'd be great. Not the best idea. I proceeded to go 117 grand in the credit card debt, which I don't recommend. I think Nick had me beat. He had $500,000, he said. But it really forced me to get really, really good with my time and manage my time well in order to become successful as an entrepreneur. So you see the funnel that these two just went through, which was just amazing. I'm huge on online funnels. This is exactly the kind of thing you want to do, but then again, where do you find the time to do it? How do you actually implement it? Okay, this is the big reason I do what I do. My better half and my two girls who are older now, they're actually 12 and 13, going on like 19 and 25. So it's been difficult to say the least, but they're blessings. So don't skip any of these steps. It would be, and I know Dave likes to jump out of planes without a parachute. I've done that too. It's like, you really don't want to skip these. They all kind of fit together. And I'm going to go through 5 of them here, 5 key principles. And like I said, even if you've heard them, please take action and do them anyway. They're going to help you. All these great things you're going to learn this weekend, I basically said I want to give these people some strategies, give you guys some strategies. My heart goes out to you as an entrepreneur. I know what it's like to try to get too much done. So let's go through these principles, and we'll hit the first one here. Number 5. Money likes and is attracted to speed. Have you guys heard this saying before? Okay. I like Speedy Gonzalez. He's one of my favorite cartoon characters. So this idea of acting fast is really, really important. The best story I ever heard of this, I heard a guy named Lloyd Irving, who was also in the whole Dan Kennedy world. And he was at a Perry Marshall seminar. I don't know if you guys heard this story. It's really funny. He was in the room, and he was learning about pay-per-click. And so he got so excited, he went to his room that night, got on his laptop, fired up a Google campaign, and got his first lead before his head hit the pillow that night. Now, this guy has become extraordinarily successful, but again, money likes speed. The faster you act, the better. So specifically on that, thou shalt work quickly, fast, and muy rápido in honor of Speedy Gonzalez. That's the extent of my Spanish, by the way. And I think the saying actually came from Joe Vitale, Mr. Fire. I think that's where that saying actually came from. So that's the first one. Very simple. How many people are going to act faster and act with speed on what you learn over the next 2 days? Okay, please just act fast, act with speed. Number 4, play offense, not defense. And this, I like sports a lot too. I know Dave likes sports a lot. I really like using a sports analogy. You can't ever win a game, whether it be basketball, football, hockey, whatever your sport is, by playing defense only. It's absolutely not possible. You have to go on the offense. So a couple of things here specifically. How many people don't check email before noon? By a show of hands. Anybody? I would put that on your dream list. There's nothing better than to have an assistant or some team or a system set up where you don't have to check email before the clock hits the PM. How many people check email first thing when they roll over and the phone's right there and they grab it and check email? All right, the only email account you're allowed to do that with is the order account. You can check the orders. That's fine. You can do that. But don't be checking your personal email. And why is that? Why do you think? It puts you on the you're immediately on your heels right away, especially if you get something. So one of the companies, so what I do now is I actually invest in different companies. One of the companies that I'm invested in is a target company. We actually manufacture three-dimensional tactical targets. We sell to the military, law enforcement, and then one of our divisions is called Zombie Industries. So if you've ever seen or shot a bleeding zombie target, you can thank me. It's always funny because I see a few guys smiling, and there's always a few guys who are shooters and tell me about their ARs and stuff like that. But it's really, really important. You don't check your email unless it's orders first thing in the morning. Really, really important. So work from a daily goal list. How many big rocks can you fit into your day? So I wrote a book called The Hour a Day Entrepreneur, and it took me 3 years to write the book, but really it probably was about a week. And I really wish I would have focused my time and gotten it done faster. All you have to do is work from a daily goal list and commit to saying 1 hour is going to be writing or 2 hours, whatever it is for you. So work from a daily goal list, very, very important. Completely eliminate time and energy vampires. Now, how many people have anybody either in their office or that they work with that sucks energy out of them when they meet with them? I heard the best definition I've ever heard. I heard this about a month ago. So you guys have all seen strength finders or taken a Colby or some test like that to find what you're good at and what you're not good at. Here's the ultimate test, and I don't remember where I saw this. It was on some blog or podcast. It's the best definition I've ever heard. The definition of a strength is something you do that gives you more energy. So when you saw Davin come up here and speak and you saw his reel that he did, you can tell when he's speaking, he loves it, he gets energy from it, he's empowered by it. So it's really, really important. Whatever gives you energy, do more of that. Whatever doesn't give you energy, what sucks the life out of you, like, oh, I'm dreading doing that, take that off your list and get rid of it. Really, really important. So time and energy vampires, get rid of them. You are the sum of the 5 people closest to you. You guys have probably heard that quote from Jim Rohn. Very important. If this is the kind of people you're hanging out with, no offense, probably not the best person. How many people know who these 4 folks are? You might have seen this picture before. This is the original mastermind group. Yep. So you got President Harding, Henry Ford, Harvey Firestone, and Thomas Edison. Thank you. So hang out with people that lift you up, that bring your game up. And I know that I'm talking and preaching to the choir in a group like this, but very important. Very hard to fire your family, I've found, even if you don't get along with them. It's like, so you have to pick people that bring you up. Number 3, how to get more done starts with today. So here's the key thing here. If you start doing this exercise, I promise it will change your productivity dramatically. And very, very few people ever do it. I've taught this to thousands of people, and literally we're talking a handful. But I know in this room there'll be a few people that'll do it. Here's what you do. Keep track of everything you do in a given work week in 15-minute increments. It's that simple. But here's the kicker behind it. It sounds like fun, right? It's about as much fun as this guy who got a great job with the North Korean government to hold up the shooting targets for people. Is the worst job ever. Recording your time is not fun, but I can promise you it's profound. And here's what you do. Most people won't do it, but if you do, you will see profound results. So does anybody want to commit? I'll show you how to do it that makes the exercise really powerful. Does anybody want to actually commit to tracking their week in 15-minute increments? Okay, all right, we got a few brave people. All right, excellent. Now you're going to have to send that over to Dave so he can see it and make sure you're actually doing it. But it's really, really profound. So here's what you do. Get out a clean sheet of paper right now, or pull a sheet of paper out of your notebook. So try it right now. I'm going to actually walk you through how this works, because you have to actually do this, put paper to pen. So get out a clean sheet of paper. And here's what I want you to write at the top. You're going to write your time tracking. So you're going to write your name. So I'd write Henry, time tracking. And you're going to list down the left-hand side, real simple, whatever time you get up. If you're a 5 a.m. person, God bless you. It's like I'm more of a 6 a.m. person, but you're going to write the numbers down the left from 6 to 7, all the way down for the rest of the day. And then what you're going to do is you're going to track your day in 15-minute increments. You can do it on a fancy spreadsheet if you like to do that, but I find going paper to pen works really well. So make a list of all these things that you do during the day. And then what you're going to do at the end of the week is you're going to go back and look at this list, and you're going to do two things with it. One is you're going to put a little circle around anything that you can outsource for less than $15 an hour. You will be shocked. Guess what? Posting up on Facebook is not your highest and best use of time. As much as we all like to do that, it's not the highest and best use of time. So circle those things that are things that you really shouldn't be spending your time doing. And then what I love to do is actually put dollar signs next to how valuable the things are that I'm working on. So put little dollar signs and circle the things you should outsource. When you do this, it is profound, because you will go back over the week and you'll see all these things you're spending time on that you really shouldn't be spending time on. So I got to know a guy who was a billionaire client when I was in commercial real estate, and I went out and met him in Phoenix, Arizona at the Biltmore. I'll never forget. He pulled out, this was when I was, so if you've ever worked in commercial real estate, you basically make no money unless you get to the top, and then you make a lot of money. I remember him pulling out this wad of $100 bills, and he dropped it on the ground. And I reached down and picked it up and gave it, here you go, Mr. Gossman, gave it back to him. But I remember him saying just the importance of tracking your time and making sure you're working on things that are of high value. So whatever you're best at, that's what you should spend your time doing. And you should get rid of everything else. Depending on who you listen to, some people will say you should only do what your highest and best use is. So whatever the $1,000, the $10,000, the $20,000 an hour work, that's where you should spend your time. And get rid of the other stuff. Just don't do it, period. So I got two quick things I want to share here, kind of in the middle as we go down the countdown here. There's two primary ways to gain leverage. You can gain it by leveraging other people, or you can gain it by leveraging and utilizing systems. So I want to kind of share some of the things that I've done on for these two specific ways. Again, we're talking about how to get more done. It can't all be done by you. If you've got a big to-do list and you see your name next to every single thing, that means you have a job, not a business. So I have a client who has the top-rated Yelp spas in San Diego County. Her name's Christine. She's an amazing entrepreneur, amazing woman. And she took a month off in November, so just a couple months ago, took a month off and went traveling on a motorcycle tour of Europe. Now, what does that mean? It means she has a real legitimate business because she didn't have to do anything. Other people were doing the work. How many people have seen the movie called The Founder with Ray Kroc? It's out right now. You guys have got to go see this movie. If you're an entrepreneur or a business person, it's amazing. It's the story of Ray Kroc and McDonald's. It's fascinating. It's really Hollywood at its best, because you're literally transported to the 1950s. So you can leverage other people and utilize systems, and that's really what McDonald's did. So if you think about it, my favorite way to leverage other people is to do that exercise of time tracking and then find the things you're doing that don't make you feel better, that you don't like to do, and then pass them off to somebody else. Really, really is liberating when you do that. Now, my favorite systems, I just want to share some tactical ones. If you're on a Mac, which, by the way, you should be if you're not. Have we got anybody that's still on PC? It's like my condolences. All right. No, that's fine. That's fine. I know there's apps you can't run on the Mac. But I like ScreenFlow, and you can use Jing. These are ways to record your screen. You should never have to repeat yourself to anybody that works on your team. You want to be able to record something once and then pass it off to them. So this is a way to train and pass things off to people. I use Infusionsoft. I know that the guys here love Infusionsoft too. And then has anybody seen or used Trello for project management? It's a great tool because it's visual. So it's a visual project management tool. It's like a Kanban board where you can move things around. It's really, really fun. And it's a great way to be able to delegate. And I know people that run 50 and 60-person companies using Trello. A lot of people say, oh, no, it's only for 1 or 2 people. You can run a big organization using Trello. So check that out if you haven't. And the best part, it's really expensive. It's a whopping $0. So it fits into the budget very nicely too. So that's what I use for that. So who thinks they can build a better hamburger than McDonald's? Does anybody think they can do better than that Big Mac? Okay. If you can't, then I'm sure you know somebody that probably could. So you think about it, the quality of McDonald's is not what their business is about. What it's about is the systems. So you think about the systems, who thinks they can build a better system than the systems that McDonald's has? Does anybody think they can do a better system? They are the masters of it. I did a bunch of research after watching The Founder, which, by the way, you really should go see. It's really a great movie. And I got to actually find some of the checklists and systems that McDonald's is using, and it's really incredible. That entire business is designed to be run, a multi-billion-dollar business run by pimply-faced teenagers. Stop and really think about that for a second. And you rarely see the owners in the business. And I don't know if this is true, I actually heard that in the McDonald's franchise agreement, you're actually not allowed to work in the restaurant if you own it. I don't know if that's true because I don't own McDonald's myself. If anybody owns them, they can let me know if that's true or not. So you want to be able to work on your business systems and just think of McDonald's. Obviously, the E-Myth is the classic book in the space. If you haven't read it, by Michael Gerber, a great book that talks about that. Okay, number 2, my favorite technique to get a lot done quickly. And I'd heard this before, and it never really sunk in. And so I really hope that this will resonate with you if you've heard it, or maybe you're hearing it again, because I think this is a secret. Everybody I look at who's really productive, they all do this without exception, because I've asked everybody. And it is time blocking. And all the time blocking is shutting off the noise when you're working on something. Now, when you're at an event like this, I'm sure that, there's a lot of effort that Dave and Dustin and their whole team has put into putting on an event like this. They would appreciate it if you were present. You're going to get more value if you're here and you're present and you're listening. And the distractions you have are huge. So when you do a time block, it can be 50 minutes, which I recommend. You guys have heard of the 50-10? So 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off. I think it even has a fun, cool name. I don't know what it is, but I call it 50-10. The nice thing about that is you're able to dramatically increase your productivity, but you have to shut off the noise. That means your phone needs to go on airplane mode. I know people that will actually shut off Wi-Fi on their laptop. I do that a lot because there's just so many distractions, get things popping up everywhere. It could be 50 minutes up to 4 hours. I've seen people even do a week straight, but the key thing is no interruptions, no phone, no email, nothing. Now, my favorite personal way to get things done is I do what's called a beach day or a beach afternoon. So I'll actually show you where my other office is here. So just real quick, everybody has flown on a plane, right? Has everybody here been to Disneyland, just by a show of hands? Okay, has anybody not been to Disneyland? There's usually always one okay, that counts. You always usually find at least one person that hasn't been. So, but we've all flown on a plane. When you're being productive, when you're in the zone and you're really getting things done, so you're working on your funnel or you're working on, day trading, whatever it is, when you're in the zone, you're like an airplane at altitude. So I've done a lot of flying. My dad's a pilot. My brother-in-law's a pilot. I have some hours. So when you're up at altitude, let's say you're a commercial airliner, a 747, you're at 35,000 feet and you're cruising, which means you're working and being productive. Now, what happens when your phone buzzes and it's a text? I think text messaging is the worst thing for productivity, best thing for marketers. There's a great system that works with Infusionsoft called Fix Your Funnel. If you haven't used that, you can use text messaging. You guys use it. It's amazing. You can literally take people immediately to their phone. But when you get interrupted, it's literally as if your plane now has to slow down, put the flaps down, put the gear down, and land. And then, once you get done with that interruption, it doesn't matter who it is. When you're interrupted, it's as if you have to land. Then you have to take back off again and get back up to altitude. You know how long that takes on average for you to get back up to the level of productivity you were at before? What do you think? 7 or 8 hours? Yeah, I mean, for some people, yeah. It's usually at least 20 to 30 minutes to get back up to the same level of productivity you were at before. So if you're getting interrupted, you can't be productive. You absolutely can't, and you have to shut things off. And so what I like to do, it's so important, and you can do this in a whole bunch of different ways. You can say you're out of town. You can make self-appointments. I've had clients I've told, invent a client you have that's super important, give them a name, and put it in your calendar and say, I'm meeting with Joe. Who's Joe? Don't worry about Joe. He's super important. He pays all the bills here, so I'm going to be meeting with Joe. Put it in your calendar, lock it out. So you're your own best client. So if I'm not in my office, so I've got 3 offices that I kind of spread my time out to, but when I'm not in my office, the best place for me to go is here. And you have to do it guilt-free. Does anybody know where that is? I'll give you a hint. I live in San Diego. I'll give you bonus points if you know where that is. It's not Corday. That's actually a good guess. It's actually La Jolla, which looks really different from a drone, apparently. So I go right there. There's this great little area, and I'll bring my lawn chair down, and I'll set it up. I'll turn my phone off and leave it in the car, and I'll sit down by the water. And usually I have just a yellow notepad, and that's it, and a pen. You will be just astonished how much you can get done. Get out in nature. Get out where there's water. And I don't know why. So I was talking to somebody who's from Tampa, and I actually was in Matt Fury's mastermind group. If you've heard of Matt Fury, he's a big online internet marketer, really neat guy. And one of the biggest things I got out of his group was he said, we always do our best thinking around water. Why do you think you get all these great ideas in the shower? And I started thinking, I do get great ideas in the shower. So think about that. If you can get around water, if you live around water, otherwise go by a river or a lake, sit in your bathtub, whatever works for you. It does work really well when you're working on creative things. And so that's my extra office there. And number 1 is have a morning ritual. So there's 2 great books on this. A friend of mine wrote a book called The Habit Factor. If you haven't read this, it's all about how to establish habits and having a good habit. So this morning ritual is a habit. And then there's another book. I forgot to put a shot of it up here. Have you guys read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod? Great, great book. It's all about how do you establish a morning ritual. What is your morning ritual and how do you do it? And it's really important that you have one. So here's what I do. I'm just going to kind of share. Again, I want to give you tactics you can actually do. You don't have to go read the book. Write down what you're grateful for. And always start with this because it'll put you in a great mindset. Write down what you're grateful for. So family, health, faith, business. Write down your goals and what you're working towards today. And I recommend no more than 1 to 4 goals. You can have 5, but it's really hard, really 1 or 2. And then plan out, you can see I have top 5 goals here. 5 goals is a big day. And it's okay if you only have 1 core goal you want to get done. So have you guys all read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? He's got this great quadrant he does, which is what's urgent versus important. And you want to work on the things that are important, but not necessarily urgent. So writing a book, if you haven't written a book yet, it's a great idea. It's a great marketing tool to help your business, but it's never going to be urgent. You'll never have anybody banging down your door saying, where's your book? You promised to have me your book. Never. It will never be urgent. Getting in shape. You'll never have somebody saying, why aren't you at the gym? Why aren't you working? Well, you can pay somebody to do that, but most of the time you aren't going to have that. It's never going to be urgent. So you have to make it a priority on your list, work on the things that are important, but not necessarily urgent. So write those out, put them in your pocket, and review them at least 3 times a day. So I actually have them in my wallet, and I pull it out, and I read it. And the people that I've seen who get the best results, they actually focus on their goals multiple times a day. And the key thing, when you look at your goals and you read them, you have to have a smile in your stomach. It sounds real. This is something else that Matt Fury told me. You literally have to have a smile in your gut. If you feel good when you read your goals, then you're going to be able to achieve them a lot easier and faster. So it's really important. So do that. Make a morning ritual every day and follow through with it. There's a great app that I use on the iPhone called Way of Life. If you want an app that actually will walk you through little check boxes and you get reds and greens if you do it or don't. Works great. Okay. And the whole idea here is to give you focus because when you start your day off on the offensive, and you're focused, that's how you're going to get a productive day, and that's how you're going to get more things done. Otherwise, it's like you're throwing money in the trash can. And if you're spending time working on things you shouldn't be working on, and you already know, if there's things you're working on that you shouldn't be, delegate them to other people, get them off your plate, and don't do them anymore. Okay, so just to review here, and then I've got a quick bonus one. So work with urgency. Again, money is attracted to and actually likes speed. Play offense with your time. Choose your friends well. Track your time. Delegate and eliminate the garbage. And do time blocking and then have a morning ritual. Again, none of this stuff is rocket science. A lot of you guys have probably heard these things. I've taken it upon myself to interview every person I find who's really successful and productive and ask them what they do. And it always kind of falls down to these kind of things. How many people see this list and yep, that's pretty much the list of what I need to do? And you kind of know, or how many people feel like they already have mastered a lot of these things on the list? Because I guarantee you, those people with their hands up are the most productive people in the room. Guaranteed, because you just have to be. That's how you get things done. Okay, so one more bonus one here. So I actually met a guy named David Allen who wrote a book called Getting Things Done. How many people have read this book? Okay, how many people had a hard time getting through this book who read it? Unless you're an engineer, it's really, really hard to get through this book. He's very much, I see that, yeah, I mean, he knows. But I want to share the two, because I kind of talked to him a little bit, the two key principles of the book that really made the biggest impact. And the people that I share this with, it makes a big impact for them. Number one thing is you can't let stuff bang around in your head. And a really funny example I give on this is, say that I'm driving my car to work, and I realize that the tire is low, and I see the low tire gauge. If I don't write that down and capture it somewhere, it's going to be what's called an open loop. So David calls these open loops. So it's in my head, got to get that car fixed, got to get that car fixed, got to get that car fixed. Just like opening up apps on your computer, especially for you guys on a PC. You can't have that many apps open, you know. I'm just kidding. You can't have that many apps open on a Mac either. But just like having all these apps open, having that open loop in your head means that you're going to be thinking about that instead of thinking about being creative, about growing your business and implementing all the stuff you learned. So you got to have a capture tool to capture those things down in writing. And now here's the key thing, and he says this I think it's page 89 of the book, in a trusted system. Whatever system you use, doesn't matter if you use Trello or you use Basecamp or you use Teamwork PM or you use Asana or you use Rike, I know all of them, it doesn't matter. You have to have a system where you put everything, and you have to review it every single week. All the projects, everything you're doing, you have to review it every single week. And that's the key thing, is that weekly review. And he'll say that, the weekly review is the key. Because what happens is now your subconscious can trust you, knowing that any ideas you have are going to be recorded, put into your system, and they'll get reviewed down the road. And that's how you really get more productive. And then your mind, as David Allen would say, becomes like water. So if you've ever done martial arts, the ideal state to be in is where you're truly in the present. When you're not thinking about all the other stuff you have to do and your mind's going here and there, you're truly in the present and putting a system together. If you can get through the book, it's amazing. But if you can't, implement those two things. I think it'll really help you get more done. So these principles work, and they are proven. So jump in and try them. This is a dog jumping into a pool in the essence of you need to try it. So jump in and try it. It's a really pretty dog, too. That's not my dog. I've got a Maltipoo, which is a little cuter than that, slightly. So either you run the day or the day runs you, as Jim Rohn says. And I think that's really, really true. So I hope this has helped you. I hope you got a couple of good ideas. Again, you're going to learn so many great things. I so respect these guys and what they teach. I've learned a ton in the speaking that I've done. I don't even consider myself a professional speaker. So I like being here and learning. If I can help you with anything time management related, please reach out to me. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for letting me share.
Okay.